All right, welcome everybody to the Spider-Man slash Omen Paths set review. So this is going to be a little bit of a weird one this time. Mark, I actually haven't gone super deep with you on your thoughts on the set, but for those who've seen my intro content to the set, you'll know some thoughts. Some cursory things are, yeah, there's this weird arena slash paper split. It's a smaller set than usual. There's also two-pick drafting, which is a factor, which, by the way, I just learned yesterday that it's not just two-pick drafting on Arena. They're also offering 8-player pods. So a little interesting thing there. Maybe we get into some details after. But yeah, Mark, what say you about this very strange set?
There is some strangeness going on here. I've decided not to concern myself too much with it, but for those who at least, I guess, aren't aware, so initially they hadn't planned this to be what it is today. It is kind of split between paper and digital. It is going to be split digitally between pick 2 4-person drafts and regular 8-person pod drafts. And with the smaller set, it also means something for the pack composition, because even though this is a play booster set, the number of commons and uncommons have been changed. So things are going to be a little bit different. There's going to be some more, potentially duplicates, some more repeated game patterns, maybe a little bit less of a shelf life for this one. I think people who really grind and do a ton of drafts might get bored a little bit more quickly. But considering what it is, it's a new Magic set. I'm willing to give it a shot. I think it'll be entertaining for at least a little while.
Yeah, that's my stance as well. As I'm sure a lot of listeners also think, my stance is always just like, well, limited magic is limited magic. It's going to be pretty good. Sometimes there's some surprises. Sometimes there's some disappointments, but, we'll see how things go. As far as just like small housekeeping things here. So the way that we're going to display the cards today, when we actually get into the set review, is I'm going to have the arena version, so the Omen Path version, as the main thing we're talking about. That's our focus because that's where most people play Magic these days. It's just most serving for the most people. I think to talk about the arena version, but also I will call out the name of the paper version just so people can get that association if you are playing in paper. I don't think it's too intrusive if you're not playing paper. And also for the YouTube version, not for the stream. So stream, you're missing out on this a little bit, but for the YouTube version, also going to have a small image in the corner of the paper version just to go along with the arena version. So that's how we're going to handle it. Hopefully that's the clean way of doing it. I think it should be okay. Also, just if you haven't joined us before, the way we go through this is we start with archetypes. And there are 5 archetypes in this set only because it's a small set. So it's the allied color pairs. That's what we're dealing with here. We're going to start with the archetypes, going into all the cards after. We're grading them in the typical limited resources scale kind of way. So A to B letter grading, all that kind of stuff. And we are actually going to cover all the cards today. Like, it's a small set. I think it's about, the cards we're going to cover today, rares, mythics, commons, uncommons, equals about the number of cards that we'd cover on a normal common and uncommon review. So we're going to be able to squeeze it all in. Probably going to divide this up to different videos on YouTube, but that's what we're in for. Mark, anything else before we jump in?
Minor note, there is cards we're not covering. There are a larger than normal special guest set for this set, so that will come up very rarely. I believe the frequency of seeing a special guest card is roughly the same as usual, but because there's so many more of them, these cards functionally don't exist. Like, an individual one will almost never get opened. So those will be graded in our tier list that we'll be posting later. We're not going to talk about them today on the actual review portion on screen, though.
Yeah, they're just like extremely rare, and the average drafter will not see, honestly, even like one copy of them very often. Like, if you're doing 10 drafts of the format, you might not see one at all. So yeah, here we are just looking at the 5 archetypes, and what we do for this, Mark very nicely puts together these Archetype Skeletons, which is just, it might not exactly be like the blueprint of a blue-white deck, for example, looking at our first deck here. But it's just calling out some cards that you might want to consider for this archetype. Mostly the gold cards, because this is where we review the gold cards, stamp a letter grade on them. And also gives you, a spot to look at, okay, well, where's this very narrow common in the format go? Oh, that's for the blue-white deck, and no other deck really wants it, right? We got a chance to talk about some of those cards here and there. And for those who want to do a deep dive on the skeletons Mark's put together, I will put these in the description. They're going to be linkable. So you can click those, move those around. If you aren't familiar with the cards just yet, like this is your very first piece of content, don't worry about it. You don't have to know these cards to pick up what we're talking about. It's just kind of here for as a background, right? Just something you can look at and something that we can reference. So we'll go through these, talking about the gold cards, talking about their themes. And the first theme we are talking about here is blue-white modified. And modified says, my creature is modified if it has a counter on it, if it is equipped, or it is enchanted, notably by your stuff only. So if you have a card that says, when I modify, I do a thing, and it has a enchantment-based removal spell on it that your opponent put on, that does not count. An aggressive theme, generally, would you say, Mark?
Yeah, I think so. Like it's, most of the decks have some interest in attacking, and I mean, modified. I kind of noticed there wasn't a lot of mana sinks in this set throughout across the colors, so that to me indicates that a lot of games will want to end a lot of decks will want to end the game a little bit more quickly.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There aren't huge plants, I think, for good control decks. I think it's going to be a fairly combat-centric format in general. Let's take a look at the gold cards. So, first one here is Kuminoso the Watchful. And this is a 3 white-blue 4/4. It's a legendary artifact creature, a spider hero. So a lot of stuff going on here, actually. Like, artifact matters a little bit. Spider matters, of course. It's got vigilance, and it says, when it enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. And the paper name for this is Spider Piloted by Penny. So sort of similar to Halia, the green-white gold card from Edge of Eternities, where it's like a pretty decent body, puts a counter on something, threatens to draw some cards. What do you think about this card?
Yeah, so we've pre-graded all of these, so
Yes.
I have both of our grades in front of me. So we're gonna read out the grades for the cards. We're gonna talk briefly about the more interesting ones, or if we have a big discrepancy, we'll talk a bit about them. We both gave Kumonosu a B minus, and notably, just I guess we're kind of tying everything together at the start here. These Archetype Skeletons, just to explain them a little bit more for anyone seeing this the first time, what I do for these, I put them together mostly for me, because I really help visualize kind of how things are going to play out when I've seen them in front of me. They are just the commons and the signpost uncommons. And the split is, the top section is what I think are going to be like the key commons supported by the signpost uncommons. And then the bottom section is like the supplementary filler cards that may go in depending on the deck. So it just kind of gives you an idea, once you get to learn these commons, how much of this is supporting the actual modified theme, sprinkled with, whatever the top removal and interaction spells are. You end up with, what is this, 5, 7, 10, 11 cards-ish. But notably for these types of sets, there are 5 pairs across 4 drafters. So even though the frequency of opening any specific uncommon is slightly lower than you might open in an 8-person draft, those will pretty much always end up in the lap of the blue-white drafter. So I do think you're actually more likely to see a lot of these cards. You're more likely to see duplicates as well. And these shells might actually be more true for this set than they would have been in some other sets for that reason.
Right, yeah. Set is smaller, so decks are generally going to look more similar to each other, is maybe a way to look at it.
Yeah, so what that ends up meaning is, like, sorry, I'm going to keep
Oh,
going.
yeah, absolutely, please. I do not want to interrupt you. Please go off.
What it means is, like, you will have some blue-white decks that are maybe just a bunch of good cards.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be too hard to really, like, dive into the themes and build, like, really streamlined, all the gears are turning, the cogs are working type of decks. And so if that's going to be the case, like a 5-drop like this that instantly potentially has an impact. I mean, we just saw Halia be better than I particularly anticipated during the spoiler season. I don't think it'll be hard to get your first card off this. And unlike Halia, this can trigger multiple times. It's not one or more.
Right. Yeah, that's true. This is like, no matter how many creatures in one combat deal damage, like you get to draw that many cards. Also, it just like is 5/5 worth of stats versus 4/4 worth of stats when it comes in. So
yeah, and vigilance. I mean, it doesn't have the attack trigger, but yeah, I think it's like roughly as good, maybe better, and we might even be underrating this card.
Yeah, I like it. What do we give it?
We both gave it a B minus. I will also, again, rambling on for the first shell here. but a lot of these cards are legendary, including this.
Mm-hmm.
So having multiple of these, as nice as they would be to stack them, having them together in play, it is kind of awkward when you look at maybe the third copy as it comes around in the draft. Like, do I take it? Can I afford this? Do I want three legendaries in my deck? So there's a bit of tension there too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the second one, because each color player does get 2 gold cards here, is Margot on the case. The paper name is Wraith Vicious Vigilante. Margot is a 1 blue white 1/1 legendary creature, has double strike, and can't be blocked. So a very good thing to modify.
Yes, and a definitely aggressive card. Like if there was any confusion about blue white, if this is what's going to be good, this is going to be very aggressive because it's hard to interact with
Yeah, and
on the combat team.
yeah, sorry, I was just saying worth noting that very much don't like 3-mana 1/1, but it does block and eat or threaten to eat a lot of the 2-drops, right? So it's the kind of card where I usually be like, oh man, 3-mana 1/1. Sure, it's got good offensive potential, but like it's really small when it comes down. It can actually do a decent job of stabilizing some boards too.
And if you can throw a counter hit on her too, like yeah, it's just going to end the game super
Mm-hmm.
quickly. So you gave Margot a C. I was a little lower on a C minus.
Yeah. And also for those watching along at home and going, oh, they're not covering all the kind of gold cards. So there's the hybrid cards, hybrid commons in the set. Actually, a hybrid common and a hybrid uncommon for each archetype. And we're going to cover these after we talk about all the archetypes because since they're hybrid, the idea is they can go in multiple decks. So some of them might be a little more pointed towards like, this is actually probably a secret blue-white gold card rather than a hybrid card. But a lot of them, I think, have some potential in multiple decks. So thoughts on blue-white before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of looking at the curve here, the curve looks nice. There's a good mix of creatures and spells. There's a good mix of ways to modify creatures, and I think, like, honestly, all 5 of the archetypes look reasonably well supported to me. So part of the reason I'm more optimistic on this set is it does seem like they haven't just thrown it aside and been like, oh, we'll throw the scraps to the players.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been some thought to make sure this is going to be a fairly reasonable limited set.
Yes, no, I definitely agree with that. Next up, we've got green-white. So green-white, I really like this mechanic. It actually seems like it's going to be pretty fun. So green-white's mechanic is in web, if you're playing the digital version, and it's called web-slinging in paper. So our example here, one of the green-white gold cards is Alessos and Prass Acrobatics, which is a 3 green-white 4/4 legendary creature spider human hero. It says, whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains flying until end of turn, and has in web slinging for 3 mana, 1 green-white. And what this ability says is, it's an alternate casting cost, and you can cast the creature for its in web cost if you pick up a tapped creature you control. So not super duper easy, but getting something into combat, maybe tapping it with a vehicle. There are a few cards here and there that tap creatures. So there's enablers. There's ways to do this. And by the way, the paper name of this is Spider-Man India. So thoughts on this card? Thoughts on this mechanic?
Yeah, I'll go into the mechanic first
Yeah.
because the mechanic's fairly interesting. I mean, at a glance, you might think, ninjutsu-ish kind of style where a tapped creature getting through would be the same as it getting into combat. And ninjutsu is played fairly well in most of the sets that we've seen, but those creatures almost always had like some kind of ETB, right? Like in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, there was a bunch of ninjas that had various ETBs that could mess with things going on. This one, if you're not returning another creature with an ETB, you're not really getting like a discount on the cost.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you attack with your 2-drop and they go, oh, don't block your 2-drop, and you're like, haha, I unweb this. Like with this card specifically, obviously returning the card then gives you a trigger, so you are getting something out of it. But there are just some like regular run-of-the-mill in web cards, like even one of the ones at the bottom here, Darvel we'll talk about when it gets to it, but it's just, a vanilla 3/3. You kind of want to be returning something with an ETB, and creatures that have enter the battlefield effects are often smaller statted,
right.
So it's harder to get them into combat in the first place. So I'm kind of dubious about the in-web being like really broken. There are a lot of ways to turn on the types of abilities. This archetype has plenty of those to support it as well. I don't think the green white's going to suck by any means, but I know like Lords of Limited were talking about how amazing green white's going to be, and it'll run everybody over, and it's their early pick for best deck. I'm a little bit more skeptical. I think it looks pretty balanced, and I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and worth noting, we're just thinking about this mechanic and like how it plays. There's kind of two templates or two versions of web cards. I mean, there's more than two probably, but like two main cards within web in them. So they implemented in it in the way of like, okay, Darvel, the example you talked about, which is 3 mana, 3/3 vanilla on web for a single white mana, where it's like, okay, you get to pick something up to cast this very cheap, right? So it's like, how do I? It's a little bit time sensitive. You'd really like to do this early in the game. And then there are some in web cards that are like, my web cost is actually quite expensive, more expensive than my normal cost, but you get a bonus when you get to unweb it. So that one's a little less time sensitive. It's like, okay, I'll just do this at some point maybe. So yeah, just a little bit of a note there. And grade for the card here, the Alessio Sampras?
Yeah, we were both a little lower on this. You gave this a C plus. I gave it a C. Because I mean, really, if you do just cast this as your 5-drop, it's no ETB, no protection, understated, doesn't block well. Like there's a lot of potential downsides to it too.
Yeah, and the second gold card here, kind of a nice one, good enabler. Genai and Hoppy, Roof Skippers, which is green-white for a 2/2 legendary spider-human hero. On your turn, it has flying, and when it leaves the battlefield, you make a 1/1 green human token. Green and white human token. Don't think the colors matter too much there, but the paper name is Spider-Girl Legacy Hero.
This is a nice little 2-drop.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. It's flying. Like, forget about all the web-slinging stuff. 2 mana, 2/2 flyer on attacks. Like, that's pretty good. When it dies, when it leaves, like, it's not even when it dies. When it leaves, you get a 1/1. Like, forget about mechanical stuff. This card is just good in a vacuum. Plus
Yeah,
energy.
and of course the joke with InWeb is, Leaves play will also trigger because of InWeb. So you can really be like popping off with this thing. And another legend, you can't load up on them, but when you start your turn 2 with this as a green-white deck, you're going to be quite happy. You gave this a B. I gave it a B minus.
Just want to stop real quick to note something because I think it's a good time to talk about it. You just mentioned you can't load up on it because it's legendary. I think people at home would probably appreciate just like rough idea on numbers, like how many legends is too many legends. Do you have any rules for yourself?
Well, I mean, the cop-out answer is it depends how good the legend is.
Yeah, right.
And it also kind of depends on how much of a like removal magnet it is too, because some legends, if they survive, you win the game. Then it doesn't really matter if you have more than one, because either you win the game or they kill it, and then you potentially win the game again. This type of card is tougher to have multiples of because it's evasive. Like you want to be getting in with this. It's not necessarily going to eat removal because it gets a Leaves play trigger right away. So I think I'd be pretty happy with a card as strong as this to play the first 2, but the third one's iffy. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I guess it's kind of funny. Like this one, we always talk about how it's nice when your legend has a buyout clause of like you can cycle it or has some ability, some other ability that doesn't punish you for drawing multiple copies. I guess technically this does have a buyout to make a 1/1 token. Not a great one, but
Yeah, you just at that point you just get it into combat and let it trade off.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
You guys will bluff the attack at that point.
Right. Yeah. Anyways, like besides that little potential upside, I think I'd be happy running 2, probably 3 of this one. 3 is the max, probably.
Yeah, it's really good. Like you really want to start turn 2 with this. It's really strong.
So yeah, that's green white. I think this one's interesting. I think it's a fun puzzle to solve in gameplay and deck building. Like, how do I tap my creature while, ostensibly still getting in damage, right? Like, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm tapping it with a vehicle, but I'm not actually attacking with the thing. I'm doing the thing, but like, you're not actually accomplishing that much. Like, it's an aggro deck first, I think, and the mechanic is just there as a way to like give you value for those expensive and web costs, like late game grind, or B, come up to some sort of explosive start with the really cheap and web costs.
Yeah, green white's kind of weird because like the archetype here, there's a mix of in web cards that want to buy back. There's some evasion cards that are pretty good at that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some tricks that like help you push damage through. There's a vehicle which taps your thing, but there's a few value cards to return, and then a lot of the in web stuff is just giving you raw stats.
Yes.
So I think you got to try and figure out if you're going to be more on the aggressive side of things or more on the control side of things, like, or I guess value side. You're not really controlling the game,
Yeah.
and not really sure exactly how this archetype is supposed to play out as a default.
Right. Yeah. I said like mostly aggressive. Like that's my assumption, but absolutely agree. Like I could see this archetype going either way as far as like how you want to think about it. All right. Should we go into the next one? Any thoughts? Any more thoughts, or I'll just
No,
move on to blue
I
black?
mean, green white looks good. That's
Yeah.
don't leave thinking that they've talked it down. They're not going to draft it. I think it looks solid.
Yes. No, I agree with that. Next up, we've got blue black. So blue black is it's a little bit of a multifaceted deck. So a few themes. We've got villains. Just a lot of the creatures are villains, and just caring about villains. Some cards will say like, I'm cheaper when you have a villain, or I do a thing when you have a villain. It's also got the connive mechanic. And connive is a mechanic we saw in Streets of New Capenna that says, when this creature connives, it's only on creatures, you draw a card and then discard a card. And if you've discarded a non-land card, you put a +1/+1 counter on the creature that connived. And sometimes this is an enter the battlefield effect ability. Sometimes this is an attack trigger. There's different conditions that you can be met to connive, and because of the conniving nature of like, okay, well, I get to put things in the graveyard, some of these cards, like one of the gold cards here, has an ability that you can exile and do something from the graveyard. So there's a bit of a graveyard theme, a bit of a connive theme, which also leads into the discard theme in red-black that we'll get to in a minute. So lots of little things going on here. I'll read out the first gold card. This is Tyrell in Tropic Hunger. 2 blue-black for a 3/1 legendary creature vampire scientist villain. Has flying, vigilance, and lifelink, and has the ability blue-black, exile this card from your graveyard, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And the paper version of this is Morbius, the living vampire. So pretty strong card overall. What's your thoughts on this card? Thoughts on this archetype?
Yeah, well, I guess discuss perhaps the mechanic first.
Yeah, let's do that.
Try and do it that way. Like, I don't know. As we get more structure on these, eventually we'll get it right one day. But the mechanic itself. So, out of all the decks, even if you just consider this looting, like
Yeah.
this is the one that's happy to play a long game, right? Like, the other decks are all kind of emptying their hand and running out of gas and gonna potentially run out of things to do. But if you're looting with cards, that gives you late game power.
Right.
So this card specifically is not conniving, but this card is not only good to mill, it's good to discard, it's good to play, it's hard to race. Like this card kind of does everything. I'm really impressed with this. Out of all the signposts, I think this is like the best one by quite a bit.
Yeah, this card is really great. Like, the fact that sometimes, like, 4 mana is not super expensive, but sometimes you're like, I don't really want to cast this card. I instead just want to pitch it to my connive trigger. Like, yeah, just very little bad to say about this card. So what do we give it?
We both gave Tyrell a B+, and yeah, I mean, if you draw multiples of these, it doesn't even really matter because your other cards can connive and discard it and get a counter, and then you're actually happy to discard this card because it's got an ability from your graveyard. Like this card kind of just does everything.
Yep, great card. The second one, I would say less exciting. This is Carlo Suave Schemer. This is 2 blue-black for a legendary creature villain. Has menace, and it says whenever another villain you control enters, Carlo connives. The paper name is Prowler Clawed Thief.
So this one is one of the, in general with these grades, for those who haven't been with us for a lot of time before, Alex is typically a little higher and more optimistic on cards than I am. So when I'm up higher on a card, it typically means I like it quite a bit more. I'm actually higher than you on this one, so I gave it a C+. You gave it a C. I think just the ability to connive repeatedly, almost everything in blue-black is a villain. Let's make that clear,
Yes.
right? I would say it's somewhere in the range of like 85 to 95% of the creatures are villains. So it's not going to be hard to trigger this a couple times if it survives. And conniving is a very powerful ability. So I gave this a C plus. You give it a C.
Yeah, no, I definitely can see myself coming up on it. And actually, one thing to kind of highlight, you just mentioned that everything's a villain. I think kind of by necessity of how small the set is, they really focused and made sure like, okay, all of these commons are going to count. And so like, there's also the spider theme of like, some cards pump spiders or care about when you have spiders. Green-white is mostly the deck for that. And it's like, I don't think it's going to be a thing that you have to go out of your way to do. I think a lot of the cards are just going to be villains, spiders, etc. So just your synergies come together a little more often, which is goes hand in hand with what you were saying before. But yeah, no, I like the look of blue-black. Like, I think it has the tools to play a long game. I think that, like, there's a lot of incidental value, lots of things that do things in the graveyard. Like I said, the villain theme is pretty supported. Connive, pretty powerful mechanic in general. So yeah, nothing but good things to say.
Yeah, blue black's probably my choice for favorite. Like it's the type of deck that often does a little bit better for more experienced players, especially when you give people the opportunity to loot repeatedly. That's going to favor a stronger player who can more accurately assess what type of cards are needed for the situation.
Yep.
So conniving is going to be great. I'm going to be happy to draft blue black. Looks really strong.
Sweet. Next up, we've got red black, and red black has a mayhem theme, which is a twist on madness for those who have played with madness before. So what mayhem says is you can cast this card for its mayhem cost if it was discarded this turn. And this has to be at like timing restrictions apply, unlike madness. With a madness card, if you had an instant speed discard outlet, you could like flash in a madness card. Mayhem doesn't say it. It's still, you got to cast your sorcery speed spells as sorcery. But unlike madness, you don't have to cast the card right away. So if you discard a card at the beginning of your turn, you can still choose to cast it on your main phase too. Example here is Kivney Orb Weaver. This is red-black for a 2/1 legendary creature human. It's got Menace, and it says when it enters, you can discard a card. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Mayhem costs of just a single mana, a Rakdos hybrid. And the paper version is Scarlet Spider Cane. So, yeah, let's go mechanic first. We're into the flow of things now here, Mark. What do you think about the mechanic?
I like it. I think timing restrictions to me make sense. Like I think this is actually probably a better way of making madness cards if you had to ask me.
Agree.
And this thing being both a like enabler and a payoff for the ability is really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't call this out when we talked about web-slinging, but I'll call it out here and kind of tie it back to web-slinging. There's a lot of mayhem cards and web-slinging cards that are 1 mana when you do the thing, right? And so like that's a pretty enticing reward. Like get to do this thing for 1 mana. Like a 1 mana Kivney is very, very strong. And there's a few other if you just go through this archetype skeleton that you'll find. So just something to know. I think there's a pretty big difference between like a 1 mana mayhem card and like a 2 or 3 or 4 mana one.
Yeah, it's kind of funny though that like the last color pairs ability is as conniving, which is allowing you to be able to draw and discard, and this one just wants you to discard. So like in a long game, which one's gonna work better? Well,
yeah,
one that's gonna be drawing a lot of cards, obviously. But the fact that like all your discards are basically not real discards if you have enough mayhem makes this certainly able to compete if you can get under quick enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think something that's not obvious, maybe we should probably spell this out. If you haven't played with Madness before, one of the things is like Madness or Mayhem here, it can be card advantage, right? So like if you have a card like Romantic Rendezvous here, good example is just a common 2 mana sorcery, discard a card, then draw 2 cards. Well, normally that's card parity, right? But if you discard a Madness card, or sorry, Mayhem card, I keep getting that mixed up. If you discard a Mayhem card, it's actually card advantage. You're going up a card there if you cast the Mayhem card.
Yeah, and I mean, you might have noticed I put it in the 4-drop slot because
yes.
A lot of the things you want to discard will have Mayhem cost of 2. So, that's kind of why that's there in the first place. But yeah, Kivney, so the grades for it, I gave Kivney a C. You were just slightly more optimistic as usual on a C+.
The other gold card here is Nu and Sumi, Career Criminals. This is 3 red-black for a legendary creature, Goblin Human Villain. It's a 3/3 Death Touch flyer, and it says when this attacks, discard a card. Then you can draw a card for each card you have discarded this turn. And this is Green Goblin Revenant in paper. So a little clunky, like 4 or 5 mana, no enter the battlefield, no protection, has to attack to do its thing. Can go off, but I'm not completely sold on it.
I agree. Yeah, the stats on this card concern me. It being like it does block well, but being a 3/3 that dies, I mean, there's a 1 mana bolt that's just 2 columns over.
Yeah.
Like if you get this thing bolted, or there's a number of ways to kill it pretty effectively and trade down on mana, you're gonna be pretty sad about it. So both of us are quite lowish on this card. We both gave New and Sumi a D plus.
Yeah, not one of the better ones. And that brings us on to green red. As long as you didn't have any last thoughts on red black.
No, so there's one thing I will say
Yeah.
is, especially with the increased number of duplicates that I'm expecting in this set, the mayhem archetype seems very supported.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of discard and there are a lot of mayhem cards. So I think there can be some really scary red black decks out there. Like I think some of the scariest starts in the format will be from red black.
Yeah, yeah, and generally when you're drafting this deck, like the balance of payoffs and enablers, it's close-ish to 1-to-1. You know, I think you'd prefer more functional cards than not. Like you don't want too many cards. Like you got to discard something to do the thing. So the discard outlets that are just like kind of fine on their own or optional, those are the ones you're looking for. And yeah, like generally like a 1-to-1 ratio. Green red up next. So green red's theme is mana value 4 or greater. Just like big things, big spells. The first gold card here is Zakao, Predation's Shadow, which is 3 red, red, green, green for a legendary creature human villain. It's a 6/7 Vigilant Trample Haste. When it attacks, if you've cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater this turn, draw a card. And of course, the joke here is if you've cast this and it's hasty, well, you get to draw your card right away. So, thoughts on the mechanic? There's not too much to outline, I think, but I don't know if you had any thoughts on this fairly straightforward one.
Yeah, the mechanic always is kind of awkward. Like it's not like in we saw in Final Fantasy with all the cards that had whatever the kicker thing was.
Yeah.
Where like the blue-red thing wanted you to cast expensive spells, but there were so many of your cheap cards that also could be cost for 4+ mana. This is a little bit more, you need to draw the right halves of your deck, you need to draw the ramp spells, you need to draw the early interaction, and then you need to draw enough of the big stuff. And if you draw all of either one side, your deck just kind of doesn't function. So if I had to pick an archetype that I thought would probably be the least drafted, because especially in the 4-person pods, there's 5 allied pairs. One of them is going to end up undrafted. My guess would be that it's going to be red-green. And the other thing I noticed about this shell is that there's not a lot of red cards that I think fit nicely into here, on the common scale at least.
Right.
So it is mostly a green deck. That being said, this card in particular, I really like that they costed it as red, red, green, green, because it forces you to be in these colors. It's a really nice payoff. It kind of reminds me of Shroud Stomper, was it, from Duskmourn?
Oh, that's the black-white one that...
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes in, makes them... You draw a card and drain them for 2, I think it was.
Yeah, because this is, like, you get your card immediately, you get to hit in for a chunk of damage, you've got this big threat that they then have to deal with again the next turn. So, like, I still would be pretty happy to pick this reasonably early. We both gave it a B-.
Yeah, green-red is the deck that is lacking the most, like, overt synergy. Like, it's very much not a mayhem deck or, like, cares about villains or whatever. But it might just be the case that, kind of like we saw in the last set, where just, like, enough beef can just be a good deck, right? Just be a good green stompy deck. And you're right, I think not a lot of red cards that really support that plan, but that might be what's going on here. The second one here, the second gold card is Dreadfang, Loathed by Fans. This is 3 mana, 1 red green. It's a legendary creature, human warrior villain. It's a star 4 creature. It's got vigilance, and it says power is equal to the greatest mana value among permanents you control. Paper name for this one is Craven Proud Predator. And by the way, paper name for the last one was Rhino Barreling Brute. So, pretty good creature. Like, it's going to be a 3/4 vigilance and grows from there. Like, nothing exciting, but it is beef. This is, that's, if what I'm predicting might be right, then this is some beef for this deck.
The other thing I will mention, about the last card
Yeah.
especially, there are a number of red-green cards that have trample, which when your archetype is about beef, often the thing you need to like make sure it's going to work is trample. So I mean, the combination of beef, trample, and combat tricks, Tails as old as time, like it'll still get you
Yeah.
enough wins by itself. I don't think this is going to be non-functional whatsoever. And this card can also be, quite scary. We both gave Dreadfang a C+.
Yeah, and one thing worth noting is that in Web is sort of a way to cheat this mechanic, right? Where in Web you can cast your Web cost for cheap. They keep their mana value. So there's not a ton of expensive, like 4 mana value above cards that make, have a really cheap in Web cost. So it's not like that's like a great, awesome synergy, but it's just something to look out for. Like, if you're just wondering, does that work? Yes, that does work. Thoughts on archetypes before we move on to some individual cards here?
Yeah, it's interesting. I do think that they've built enough support into each of them, and I'm not sure if the default way for people to play this is going to be in 4-person pods or in 8-person pods. Like, I actually personally haven't even decided when they release it on Arena which one I'm going to try to gravitate to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of question marks still around this, but the whole allow 4 people to draft 4 of 5 decks, in theory, it's going to create a little bit less balance than it would in an 8-person pod, just because I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but like, let's say, one person's blue-white, one person's black, one person's black-red, one person's red-green, and green-white ends up as the undrafted color. Well, then every single green card ends up in one player's pile, and every single white card ends up in one player's pile.
Right.
So they kind of have full access to that suite of cards. Whereas in an 8-person pod, you may not have 2 people drafting each color, but you'll have at least one, right? Like, or maybe not 2 or 3. Or I mean, it could end out a whole bunch of ways. But having not done pick 2 4-player pods before, I'm just really not 100% sure what to expect. And the whole dynamic of having these like signals you're trying to navigate through with a combination of hybrid cards and 2 gold cards, like, it's going to be pretty tricky to figure out. And I'm looking forward to that, but I could see it not working as well as they hope.
Yes, no, I agree with that too. I think that, like, it's an interesting little wrinkle. Like, it's a good gimmick, I think. And, like, I'm not saying gimmick as, like, a derogatory thing, just like an interesting twist. But I agree, like, balance is going to be key. Like, I think, especially in a set as small as this, if there is something funky with the balance, then it's really going to shine through with this 4-player drafting. Now we're going to get to the rest of the cards. So we've graded the gold cards. Now we're going to get to the hybrid cards here, and also the the colorless cards. That's the one. There's going to be commons and uncommons here, but then colorless stuff after the hybrid. So we'll start here with a blue-white common. This is Wonderweave Aerialist. Hybrid Azorius for a 2/2 human hero spider. So notable spider here. It's got Ward 2 and has flying as long as it's modified. And the paper version of this is Skyward Spider. Could be a really annoying little card here. Like 2-mana 2/2 Ward flyer, and probably, a 3/3 if it does have, if it's modified somehow.
This is it's interesting that out of the the 5 hybrid commons that they've made, some of them are clearly good enough and designed to go in multiple decks, and some of them are like just for one deck.
Yes.
And this one is extremely blue. Not only is it double pipped, so you need to have either white or blue if you're playing like blue black or whatever, but it also is only really impressive if you can modify it, which is majority of a blue-white type thing anyway. So if you're the blue-white drafter at the table, you probably get every single one of these. And if you do, it's like it's a really good 2-drop and easy to cast if you end up being in blue-white.
Yeah, really, really strong. There's also like a really nice curve of, there's an uncommon white creature that puts counters on each spider. Like basically all your spiders enter with a counter. So you can go like 1-drop that thing into this Wonder Weave Aerialist. Yeah, that's really impressive. So what do we give this one?
I gave this a C. You gave it a C plus. I will note, because we didn't really dive into the archetypes too much, because obviously, people haven't seen the set too much, but a lot of the ways to modify this at common are 2 mana, like they're not 3 drops. So it's often 2 mana spent that's
Yeah.
going to be a way to modify this. So there is some awkwardness where there's no real nice natural curve of like this thing into a common at 3 that gives you the counter that gets the ball rolling. So it might be more likely that it's like turn 4 you're attacking with your 3/3 flyer, but you'll still be happy with that. This card's still going to be good.
Yep. No, definitely agree. Next up, and by the way, if you see me kind of zooming past some cards here, it's the ones we've already covered. Next up, we've got Serena Bargain Spinner. This is 3 and a hybrid Azorius for a legendary creature Spider Human Hero at uncommon. It's a 3/2, has flying on your turn, and when Serena enters, search your library for an aura or equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. And the paper version is Sun Spider Nimble Webber. So yeah, we've had this card, or kind of a close-ish version of this card, back in Final Fantasy, the Delivery Moogle that went and got a cheap artifact. So this one has a bit of a wider spread of things to go get, and yeah, it's a little bit hard to see, I guess, without seeing all the auras and equipments it could go get. But there's a good spread of things. I think this card has yeah, like it's gonna do the thing you expect it to.
I'm interested in that comment because I thought, like, Delivery Moogle, it was almost impossible to end up with a deck that didn't have
Yes.
at least 1 or 2 targets, and usually like one like pretty good one. At common, I as far as I'm aware, there's only one blue common that this gets, which is like a kind of medium card in my opinion. And then like there's some uncommons and some really good rares to get, but it's not like if you pick this up early in pack 2 that you're like guaranteed to find targets for it later.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's a good distinction to make. So I think you're right. It's not guaranteed like Delivery Moog was to like be good and make your deck, but there are good things to go get. I was more speaking to like I guess power of like highest potential rather than like on average is this a great card to pick early. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's like it's good enough that I'd still be happy to speculate on it early and just like bump up the hits for it for the remainder of the draft. But I would warn, like, if you don't already have the pieces for it and you see this kind of late, don't just assume you're going to get one because there's not as much support as you might hope for it.
And I don't think there is a white, like there's no pacifism. There's the blue removal spell you kind of alluded to a second ago that isn't amazing. So there's no like this creature can't attack or block aura, notably. So yeah, what do we give this one?
So I gave it a B minus. You gave it a B. So we're still optimistic about it, just with the caveat, like you wouldn't play this without at least one target to get. And Moogle also got things out of your graveyard.
Yeah.
So you probably realistically need like 2 targets to be playing this.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I also agree with that. Next up, we've got Mob Lookout, which is 1 and a Dimir hybrid for an 0/3 at common. It's a human rogue villain, and when it enters, target creature you control connives. Name is the same in paper, by the way. Thank goodness. They did that for some of the cards, where the names are the same. So it's a 2 mana, sort of 1/4 worth of stats. Sometimes, if you discard a non land, it can put the counter anywhere, which is nice, but like still not granting you that much. I don't know. It seems like a filler 2-drop, and sometimes you'll really appreciate all the pieces that it gives you.
See, this card to me is really weird because making a 1/4 means discarding a spell in blue-black, which, like, the reward of a 1/4 is not really much. So, like, in blue-black, late on, 0/3, you draw a card, pitch a land. That's probably fine. But this one's almost, to me, designed to work in every deck except blue-black.
Interesting. So it modifies, right? It discards your mayhem cards. Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. I'm not really sure what the shell is for this, because even in red-black, you might just want to be more aggressive. Like the 0/3 body might not be what you're looking for. But the connive ability on this, it's funny to compare the stats on this to what was it, Rafine's Informant or whatever, the
Mm-hmm.
from Streets of New Capenna, because that was also a 2-drop with 3 total stats that connived when it entered the battlefield. But being a 2/1 as a default was so much better than being an 0/3.
Yes, yeah, O3. Like, if this is O3, draw into a land that you want to discard, or like have a land you want to discard, draw into a land, you discard one of those lands. Like that's very low impact.
So not sure about the grade. We both gave it a C minus. I could see it being higher or lower than that,
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree. I agree. Gonna be one that will. Well, I think you'll know exactly how good it is when you cast it. Next up is Reshe, Getaway Accomplice. So this is 5 and a Dimir hybrid. So 6 mana. For a legendary creature, human, artificer, villain at uncommon. It's a 4/6 flyer. And when it attacks other villains you control, gain flying until end of turn. The paper version is Vulture, Scheming Scavenger. So we've got a 6 mana, no enter the battlefield effect creature, no protection, has to attack to do its thing. It is a big flyer. Like, it is a 4/6 flyer. But, like, not super impressed by this one.
No, I won't say much about this. I gave it a D plus. You gave it a D.
Yeah, definitely underwhelming one of the bunch there. For red-black now, we go into Knife Trick, which is a single Rakdos hybrid. It's a sorcery at common. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you can discard a card or pay 3, or pay 2, so it becomes 3 mana. Knife Trick deals 3 damage to target creature, and the paper version of this is Pumpkin Bombardment. So, nice mayhem enabler. Not the best removal spell if you're not discarding something, right? 3 mana sorcery spell, deal 3 is kind of whatever. But if you can get a good deal on this, or if you get to get a mana advantage, like 1 mana to as a discard outlet's kind of nice. Yeah, it's gonna do the thing, I think.
Yeah, sometimes hybrid cards allow you to play them in multiple archetypes, and sometimes hybrid cards just make it really easy to cast it in one archetype.
Mm-hmm.
This one's definitely like the latter, because without Mayhem, you're not really interested in this. So the grade I gave it is assuming you're going to be like red-black with some kind of support. We both gave it a C+.
Yep. Next up is Crash Reckless Endrider, which is 2 and a Rakdos hybrid. It's a legendary creature villain at uncommon. It's a 2/3. And it says, at the beginning of your first main phase, you may discard a card. When you do, target creature can't block this turn. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, Crash deals 1 damage to that player. Paper version of this is Shriek Troublemaker. Sort of an interesting one. Interesting combo of abilities here.
And our first 2-grade disagreement.
Yeah. So talk to me. What? I believe I gave this a higher grade than you did.
Which is often the case.
So you know what? Yeah, I guess I'll talk you up. I'll give you my position first and tell me if you think that it is a wrong position to take. So basically, the initial body is not very good, right? Like 3 mana 2/3, that's very underwhelming. Is a villain, but like so is everything. It is a discard outlet, which is nice. But I also think that last ability is pretty strong. Like, I can't. I guess it's half of a Blood Artist, which is only half. Like half is half. I'm not trying to make the exact comparison. Like, oh, it's Blood Artist ability, but like it's a good ability. I like that last ability, and I guess that's where the bulk of my grade bump up comes from. I think like lowish stats, but good enabler and also good static is how I saw this card.
Yeah, I'm not. So the grades for reference, I gave it a D plus. You gave it a C.
Right.
It's also the one thing. I mean, you mentioned almost everything about it. It's also a legend, so we do. Again, you got to be kind of careful with this, because it'd be really nice if you could have multiple of these and have them stack again, and then have them take 2 for each thing. Also, really needs, like, you don't just want to be pitching cards to make one thing not block. You want to be casting your mayhem cards.
Yes. I'm assuming you're doing the thing. I'm assuming you're not just like discarding actual cards you want to cast but can't.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend my position that strongly. I could see being wrong about this. It is interesting that the like can't block also discourages the second ability from triggering, because in theory your opponent's creatures aren't getting into combat. And if they just like untap and kill this, or if you have to block with it, it's like pretty embarrassing. So I'm happy for now on my D plus, but we'll see where this ends up at the end of the day.
Cool. Next up, we've got Rhino's Rampage, which is a single Gruul hybrid mana. It's a sorcery at uncommon. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It fights target creature and opponent controls. When excess damage is dealt to the creature and opponent controls this way, you destroy up to one target non-creature artifact with mana value 3 or less. Okay, so 1 mana fight +1/+0. +1/+0 doesn't move the needle very much, right? Like, I'm mostly looking at this as 1 mana fight. Do you disagree on that?
I mean, the time when it's more relevant is when you have a creature with like lesser power than toughness,
Right,
right? Like if you have like a 2/4 or something,
Mhm.
then the +1/+0 becomes pretty good.
And then the excess damage clause, like, I mean, it's gonna feel good, I guess, when you get to kill something and then blow something up, but like, it's all fairly narrow on a removal spell. It's not all that exciting.
It is 1 mana
It is.
and like easy to cast.
Yeah, I don't want to talk down too much. I'm just like not thrilled by it.
Yeah, I caught a bit of the Scotty and Lolaman review. They did half of it today. The other half they're doing tomorrow because, of course, their reviews are too long to do in one day.
Yeah, they went for the first 10 hours today, last 10 hours tomorrow.
But they were really low on this card. I'm not that down on it. And there are like every color has a color coded artifact that's like assigned to it, and there's like a manolith, and there's a couple ways to make like other types of artifacts as well. So that last bit of text might also be relevant. And if you ever get a 2-for-1 on 1 mana for this, it's gonna feel like game over.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, ceiling's high. I'm just imagining that most of the time it's going to be like a prey upon level removal spell. So, what do we grid the grades to give some context here?
Yeah, we both gave it a C.
Yeah.
No point spending too long talking about it, but it is an interesting card.
Next up, we've got Leyline Weaver. This is 1 in a Gruul hybrid for a 2/2 spider avatar at common. It's got reach, and it says tap to add red or green. And whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, untap this creature. Paper name is Spider Manifestation. So 2 mana 2/2 mana dork with reach, and has an untap clause which will come up sometimes.
I was sad to see that this wasn't double Gruul hybrid.
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is like, this is gonna get poached by just like whatever, the red deck.
Yeah, because it's really like not only does Gruul need this the most, like the Archetype Skeleton was short on 2-drops. This is the perfect 2-drop for Gruul. It does absolutely everything. Like the reach is relevant, the mana ability is great, the easy to cast. This can be cast for green and fix you for red mana. The untap is like upside, but it counts. The body's good.
Also, just
But
like
the white green,
oh,
white green and black red are all happy to play this. So
yeah.
like, you're not going to get them.
I just like this didn't click until just now, but like this is so good for web slinging stuff, right? Like it gives you a tapped creature that makes mana for your web sling. Yeah, like man.
Yeah, this card's really strong. We might even be too low. We both gave it a C+. Like this card seems like a card I'd be fine to first pick a lot of the time, especially because it leaves you flexible to 3-ish archetypes. It's going to be really good.
Yeah, I want to bump my grade up, I think, to a B-. I agree. Next up, we've got green-white's hybrid stuff. So Gallant Citizen is a green-white hybrid 1/1 at common. And it says when it enters, you draw a card. So good thing to pick up with your web slinging / in-web cards. Hard thing to pick up, maybe. Like, this does not tussle well, so you got to find some way to tap it. Yeah, this is kind of like in the direction of, we were talking about the web slinging deck maybe could be aggressive, could be value oriented. This is definitely a more value oriented card. Pretty good one though.
The existence of this card also just means like you really need something to do on turn 2 in this set.
Oh yeah, because if they do get to pick this up with their web slinging, you kind of feel like you lose on the spot.
Yeah, and there's a number of things that have like a cost of 3 for web slinging.
Mm-hmm.
So interestingly, in the green-white seat on the play, if you have this and like a larger statted 2-drop, you're immediately put in like a situation Do I want to go for the upside if they don't have a blocker and I get the like full blowout for web slinging my gallant citizen? Or do I want to go for the bigger creature that's more likely to be able to get into combat next?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, what would the gamble? Guess it's gonna depend slightly on what land your opponent plays on turn 1. Yeah. Good card though, strong card. What do we give it?
Both in the B range. I'm at B minus, you're at a B.
Nice. Next up, we've got Diligent Web Keepers, which is 4 in a Selesnya hybrid for a 4/3 Spider Hero at uncommon. When it enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control, and its paper name is Web Warriors. So this one's a little more checks all the boxes of all the archetypes it might go in. Like, it's a greater than 4 mana value thing for red-green. It is a decent thing to pick up for your web-slinging deck. I guess a little bit expensive. It puts counters on things for your modified decks. Yeah. And it's like, it's a little... Like, what do you think about the, just like, again, forget about synergies. 5 mana, 4/3, put counters on like 2 or 3 things. Maybe. Because sometimes it's not going to be that. Sometimes it is going to be 5 mana, 4/3. This is awkward.
We just saw Atmospheric Greenhouse, which is a card that almost every set review content that I saw overrated, right?
Yes.
Like, the upside looks there. You can picture the board where this just like ends the game. This thing being a creature is certainly relevant, but it's not a very big one.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think this is the exact kind of card that's very easy to imagine, like, it being excellent and just like the board state where it's great, like you said with the greenhouse. But do treat this as like, it's still a 5 mana 4/3 with like some upside, of course, but don't overrate just the baseline of this. So yeah, that's why I started with like what this does in every deck, just to kind of highlight, okay, there is more to it than meets the eye. What do we give this one?
I gave it a C minus. You gave it a C. I will also mention it's a nice top end to curving out, but there's not a lot of actual 1-drops in the set to like start from early on.
Yeah.
So there's like a white flyer, but that's basically the extent of it. So it'd be nicer if you could go like 1, 2, 3, 4 this, and that's going to be pretty rare in this format.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's going to bring us to the colorless cards here. So actually quite a few in this set. We're starting out with Perfected Pastry, which is Bagel and Schmear in the paper version. This is a single mana artifact food at common. Has the ability white, tap, sack this artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature, draw a card, activate this only as a sorcery, and also has the food ability of 2 tap sack, gain 3 life. So this is the first in a cycle of artifacts that have a colored ability. And I think for the most part, you should just treat these as colored cards, not colorless cards. But yeah, we've got 2 mana, put a counter on something, draw a card, in installments.
Yeah, a bit of a raw deal after just getting Honor in the last set.
Yeah,
right?
for 1 mana. Yeah.
That being said, you can cast this on turn 1 and just leave it lying around, and then it's functionally like an Honor, on a stick that's face up. So I do think it's solid. It's probably going to be more played in blue-white because of the modified theme. Like, a cheap way to modify your creatures is pretty nice. I gave it a C minus. You gave it a C.
Yeah. We've got Eerie Gravestone up next, same name in paper. 2 mana for an artifact at common. When it enters, draw a card. You can also pay 1 and a black to sack it to mill 4 cards, and you can put a creature from among those cards into your hand. So this is sort of Cryogen Relic adjacent. Not as good, definitely, but similar vibes.
Yes, I agree. Like, the fact that you could like sack the relic and get your 2 cards for 2 mana.
Oh yeah, so good.
Was a big difference.
Yes.
But this is, draw 2 or draw a card with flashback. It's not that far off being like a think twice type of thing.
Yeah, and you're also gonna get some value in black-blue. We're just like filling your graveyard. Put cards in the grave that want to be there. Yeah,
there are other cards that have graveyard relevance for sure. You do need to hit with that ability, though.
Yes, which is awkward, right? Because like this mostly goes in blue-black, I would say, and your blue-black creature count might not be super high. You might have like 13 creatures in a deck that, compared to the other decks, which are more likely to have like something in the 16 range. Yeah, interesting. And I don't think red black. I mean, I could see a grindy version of red black wanting this card, but I think red black is mostly an aggressive deck.
Yeah, it's interesting to see if there will be any enemy color decks because like the kind of home for this, like honestly, green black or white black might appreciate it more than either of the other two. So curious how this is going to end up. Milling four, what kind of creature count do you think you'd want to be happy playing this?
4 is a decent number, so I think you probably can get away with 14, but, the more the merrier.
Yeah. So grading, you gave it a C plus. I was a little bit lower. I have it at a C.
Okay, cool. Next up, we've got Treat Trolley, which in paper is Hot Dog Cart. So Treat Trolley is 3 mana for an artifact at common. When this enters, you make a food token, and you can tap to add a mana of any color. So it's a manolith that makes a food token when it enters. I don't know, it's not particularly great in this set. Like, I don't think you're super incentivized to be splish splashy.
I kind of disagree.
Okay.
If you look at common and uncommon, I would agree, but there's a lot of gold rares, and some of them are actually enemy colors.
Right. That's right. Yeah, there's 2 really good black-white rares, actually. That's a good point. Okay.
Like well, I mean, we'll get there, but like there's the red white one solid, the green black one solid. Like most of the rares are kind of interesting. So picking up one of these like at the end of a pack as a kind of free thing might be really rewarding to you later on. We're both starting pretty low at it. We both gave it a D plus.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Error 9, a Viral Node. This is 4 mana for 3/3 legendary artifact creature villain at uncommon. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target non-equipment artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power, toughness 3/3 until end of turn. Untap it. And the paper name is Living Brain Mechanical Marvel. Weird card in a set that's not super artifact heavy.
Yeah, and I mean there are a couple of equipment, but you can't even hit those either.
Yeah, so like you're doing this to food. There are some food tokens, like there's the cycle of artifacts with colored activations or colored mana cost in them. I don't think there's really going to be a deck that like super maximizes on this card though, and even like what does that look like? And like it's not like the payoff is awesome or anything. So I think this is something you shouldn't really look towards very much.
Yeah, we both gave this a D.
Yep. Next up is Data Scrubber, which is 3 mana for an artifact creature, human robot villain at common. It's a 2/1, and it says when it enters, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. Target creature you control connives. Okay, so the graveyard thing is minor, but you'll nab something once in a while. 3 mana 2/1. This target creature connives.
Very filler. Very filler.
Yeah, the paper name for this is Mechanical Mobster, by the way. Yeah, filler to the extreme.
Yeah, D plus for me, D from you.
Yep. Next up, we've got Opulent Valet, which is 3 mana for a 1/1 artifact creature at common. It's got flying, and when it enters, you make a 1/1 green and white human citizen creature token. Newscopter is the paper name. So, I kind of like this one, actually. Like, we saw this card in Neon Dynasty with Ninjutsu, so it's kind of doing similar things. Evasive body that gives you a little bit of value when you pick it up.
It's almost like the token color that it gives you is telling you what deck you're supposed to play it in.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Probably is.
You win weather, you return it, you get your ninjutsu equivalent, and you get another free 1/1. So yeah. I think that's probably the spot for it. I gave it a fairly low grade, assuming that would probably be the only deck that wants it. Are you more interested in this outside of green-white?
I think that out of all these kind of like fillery artifact creatures, this is one of the ones that I'm not embarrassed to play. Like I can see playing this as my 23rd fairly often.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, our grades reflect that. I gave it a D+. You were more optimistic at a C.
Carriage of Dreams is up next. This is 3 mana for a 4/3 Crew 2 vehicle at common. When this attacks, you can pay blue, and when you do, another target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. Paper version is Passenger Ferry. 3 mana Crew 2 4/3. Whatever. Unblockable to something, also sort of kind of whatever. Like, You need multiple creatures in the battlefield, which, is not a huge cost, but it's something. I don't know. I'm not super excited about this.
I agree. Like you'll remember losing to this card, so it might seem better because it can just like win a game on its own. But neither of the blue decks, I think, are really that interested in it. We
No.
both gave Carriage of Dreams a D.
Yeah. Next up is Steelweb Surveyor, which is 2 mana for a 2/1 artifact creature, Spider Robot Scout at common. It's got reach, and it's one of those creatures that searches their library for a basic land and puts it on top. Then you shuffle. Spiderbot being the paper name. So we're never usually super excited about these. These are like, I would count them as like, not quite emergency mode fixing, right? It's not like, oh man, I guess I have to play this. But it's like, all right, well, I didn't see anything better. I'll play it, but slightly begrudgingly. Only kind of want to play this if this card you're splashing is excellent.
Yeah, if you're splashing and low on twos, like that's kind of the spot that it comes up. And we both gave it a D plus for that reason.
Yep. Types also might matter here and there. Scuttling Spider Coach is up next. This is a 3 mana uncommon vehicle. It's a 3/3 crew 2 trampler. And when this attacks or blocks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each spider you control. Spidermobile is the paper name. So, yeah, a green-white card for the most part, I would say. That's where you get the highest density of spiders.
I think green-red can do something there, too.
Yeah, I agree.
Notably, like, the density, if you're, like, blue-black, I said, like, what, 80 to 95% of your creatures are going to be villains. The density is not that high for spiders.
Right.
It's somewhere in the range of, I don't know, I would guess, like, between 40 and 60% of your creatures could be spiders if you try to build around it a little bit.
Yeah, so if this is like 4/4 trample, I think you feel okay. Like, I think the 3/3 is not good. So you have to have this at least be a 1/+1/+1. When you get to +2/+2, I think you're really happy about it. Like, this scales very nicely. Like, each +1, I think, makes a pretty big difference here. So
I agree with that very much.
Yeah, so basically, if you're aiming for 2, this means you should play this if you've got like 8 or 9 spiders at a minimum. Maybe 7 if you want to be a bit generous.
There's also the awkwardness of like activating it, going into combat, getting the trigger, and then your opponent responds with the trigger with like killing one of your things and shrinks it. So you do gotta be careful here. There's some downsides. We both gave the Spider Coach a C.
Yes, and of course, got to call out. I don't think I call this out explicitly, but it does turn on your web-slinging cards. Any of these vehicles can do that. Next up is Gororel, Scourge to Spiders, which is a 2 mana 2/1 legendary artifact villain. When it deals damage to a spider, destroy that creature. Also has a 6 mana ability to exile it from your graveyard to make 2 tapped 1/1 artifact creature tokens with flying. Paper version is Spider Slayer, Hatred Honed. This is a nice one. Like, definitely more excited about this than a lot of the other artifact creatures we've seen.
Yeah, this is a card you're happy to play, and there's also, like, this is a really nice card to mill or to discard to connive. It's got that graveyard trigger. This card's really good.
Yeah.
We both rated it fairly highly. I gave it a C+, you gave it a B-.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Cat Tarantula Saddle is up next. This is a single mana for an equipment at uncommon. The equip cost is 3. And it says the equipped creature gets +2/+2 and is a spider hero in addition to its other types. Spider Suit is the paper version. So 1 mana, that's good. 3 mana equip, that's pretty bad. +2/+2 for 3 mana, that's pretty bad overall.
Yeah, I think the only time you play this is if you want another target for your delivery Moogle equivalent.
Yep.
It does fetch equipment. So in that rare circumstance, it's not going to come up too often. We both gave this a D.
Yes, I think not one I'm super interested in. Temple Trap is a 5 mana artifact at common. When it enters, it deals 5 damage to target creature. You can also discard it for 1 in a red to just destroy target artifact. And the paper version is Steel Wrecking Ball. So, split card of Shatter and Sorcery Speed deal 5.
I don't get it.
I mean, it's not like the worst removal spell in the world, I guess. Like, it's one of the, it kind of reads to me as one of those things where it's like, okay, like if you didn't pick up removal here, you could play this. But yeah, not good.
Yeah, the other, well, so I guess the blue one's not great either, but it just, I don't know. It feels like this was the last card thrown into the design file.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, we both gave this a D.
Yep.
Not too impressive with Double
Nope.
Drop.
Vinewoven Chariot is up next. This one's a little more interesting. So this is 2 mana for a 3/1 crew 2 vehicle. It says when it enters, you can pay green. If you do, search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So if you play this for 3 mana, one of them being green, which is I assume you're going to be able to, it's 3 mana, go get a land, and a 3/1 crew 2 vehicle. So that one's a lot more interesting. By the way, paper name is Subway Train. Yeah, I do like this one.
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned this on the other vehicle, but turning on web slinging in green white, really good for this. Crew 2 is a little awkward because some of the things you want to web sling black do have one power, like we saw the citizen or whatever it is that draws a card, the pawn profit equivalent.
Yes.
So it would be nice if you could have curved the citizen into the chariot on 3, into on turn 4, you crew your thing and return the pawn profit to your hand, but I think you'll still be reasonably happy with this. I gave it a C, you gave it a C plus.
Yeah, I think you're probably looking either to be splashing or really care about web slinging to play this card. Like well, maybe not. Do you think your green red decks are going to be playing this card very often?
I don't think it'd be embarrassed. Like green red wants 4 mana stuff, so hitting your 4th land drop and potentially like your 6th or 7th land drop for the signpost uncommon is going to matter.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, maybe this card's just like generically good. Maybe this card is just like a good card in green decks. It's card advantage. Yeah.
If every copy of this ends up getting played, it does also make that fight spell better.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah,
It
that
does,
was.
but
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say it does state non-creature, so you need to leave up the crew cost for that. There's some interesting tension there where like if you tap out of crewers for this, they can kill it with your fight spell, but otherwise you can crew it in response.
Oh yeah, that is weird. Okay, true. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see how this one plays because I think is the best of the bunch, most likely.
Yes.
Lands. Before we get to some colored cards here, so Fearsome Ridgeline is a uncommon land that taps for a colorless mana, can filter 1 in tap, add 1 mana of any color, or 1 tap target legendary creature gains menace, activate only as a sorcery, and this is the Daily Bugle building in paper. So a filter land that's like aggressively slanted.
There's a lot of legends.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you like that ability?
The menace ability?
Yeah.
I don't think I love it. Like, I guess it makes it a little easier to have a tap creature, but like you're spending 2 mana. I Yeah, I don't love it. I don't know. Maybe I'm underrating it, but I don't think it's currently not like, ooh, that's worth a colorless land on my deck. And I know this isn't exactly colorless, but a land with a cost.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure where I don't think it's unplayable, but I don't think it's good, and I don't know where I would play it. Like, does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's got a spot somewhere. I just have no clue what it is.
It's so you can play all of the colorless artifacts with activated abilities of different manas. That's the idea. Get a sick schmear bagel fairy deck or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, that's like the only thing I can think of where like, because with these cards, sometimes you're like, oh, I might want this color sometime, but I don't necessarily always need it. Like that's where I'm most likely to play a cycle land. Like if you have Dominaria United, there was like the off-color kicker. That's a good example. I don't know if there's that much of that stuff going on in this set though.
So, do you think you're more likely to play it if you want the like splash fixing, or if you want the menace ability?
Ooh. Probably the fixing. Like I guess the answer, yeah, my answer would be fixing because I can't imagine what deck goes like, oh, this deck really really likes the menace ability enough for me to be like, yeah, I'll play a colorless land. Unless it's maybe my 18th, that could be the case.
Yeah, I mean, we spent a long time talking about this
Yeah,
card.
yeah.
I think it's interesting, but we'll probably figure that out pretty soon into the format. We both gave it a cautious C minus.
Yeah, some lands, some mana fixing lands here. So these are at common. And, well, sorry, no, they're not. They're at the land slot, right? Which is its own thing. And actually, I didn't pick up the numbers for this. Do you know offhand how often we're going to see these tapped dual lands that surveil? Is it like one in every pack, one in every 2 out of 3 packs or whatever?
I didn't do enough of my homework for this set
Oh
either. I'm
no,
not.
we're unprepared podcasters here. Well, in any
I
case,
told people for the Spider-Man set,
luckily we have Mike Provencher coming to the rescue in chat here. About 50% of packs will have these tapped dual lands, and so it's one for each archetype, of course. So I'll just read out this one here. Ominous Asylum. Enters tapped, taps to add red or white, or sorry, black or red. And well, my colors are all mixed up today. Taps to add black or red, and 4 tap to surveil 1, which is a pretty good ability, actually. Like, we've had this in the form of the Strixhaven lands. They scryed instead. But being able to like sink some mana in late game to not continue to draw lands is like a more relevant than it might look if you haven't played with these before.
I also think these are lower, like they're good, but you should like you're gonna get all the ones for your color. You don't need to prioritize these really,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you're doing a 4-person draft, like unless someone opens something they want to splash, you're gonna get at least 1 or 2 of these. So I would, for that reason, like deprioritize them a little bit because you don't want a ton of top lands. That being said, if you're into pack 3 and you haven't seen one yet, you probably like bump them up a little bit. So normally I'd give these a C plus. I actually bumped them down slightly for this set. I gave all of these a C, and you gave them a C.
Yeah, I just remember when we had this during Strixhaven, and it might have actually been Surveil back then too. But anyways, I just remember like feeling a pretty big gap between like when you had a game where one player had one of these and the other did it, and it was like, well, just seeing it on the other side of the battlefield kind of says, okay, I should be the one to try to end this game rather than not. So yeah, I'm still fairly high on them. I'll keep my C plus, but I agree, I might come down on it. So yeah.
No, it's. I mean, we've talked about these a bit already, but I didn't clock. I was talking about during the archetypes that I didn't see a lot of mana sinks in the colors. These are literally your mana sinks,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
so. Yeah. You do want the first one for sure, and probably the second one. I don't think you want 3 though.
Yes, no, 3, I agree. 3 is too many. So yeah, there's 5 of those, one for each archetype, and then we also have a Evolving Wilds variant, Vibrant Cityscape, or in paper it's called Vibrant Cityscape. Oh, that's the same name. Okay, great. So Vibrant Cityscape is the common land. It's yeah, just an Evolving Wilds. Tap sack, search your library for a basic, put it on the battlefield. And yeah, I mean, there's not really synergies with this card. There's no like landfall or anything, but you know, just a good fixing land.
Yeah, this is you gave it a C plus. Because I think you'll be able to get like a couple of the surveil lands for free. I'm not again as super interested. I gave him a C, but yeah, you should always consider your mana base when you're building a draft. Do not ignore all of the lands.